Well, to all the people that consistently doubted LCS and doubted Golden Guardians, now that we're on and we only lost a single game to China, or 2 games to China, and took 1 game off of them, all I gotta ask is this: how the hell are you still power ranking us below minor regions? Seriously. With this being the last LFC of play-in stage and before we enter group stage, this video is going to be sectioned into 3 different parts. First and foremost is reaction to the last few days, of which, note, I did not watch much. I've been out of town. As you can see, I'm not even in New York. I'm back in Pennsylvania still because there was an issue with our car. We're not able to get it back to New York until Monday, but this video has to go out then. So the first section is going to be kind of reviewing the skimmed games that I kind of watched here and there, which luckily I didn't miss much. Second part is going to be doing our group draw reaction and my full bracket prediction for the bracket stage of MSI. And third is going to be touching upon the news that will be breaking as of the day that this video goes out per LCS EV. That's North America is no longer going to require its LCS teams to have challenger teams, which we'll get into that in a bit. Starting with Golden Guardians. Yeah, they absolutely crushed it. And anybody that was consistently doubting them should no longer do so. And I think it's safe to say the gap between major regions and minor regions has grown substantially. Not a single minor region team was able to take even a game off of an LEC 2 seed, an LCS 2 seed, and an LPL 2 seed. Not one. And yes, there were some close games here and there, but to not get a single win out of, what, 13 total games? When are we just going to start understanding the difference here? This isn't to say that, the LCS 2 seed and LEC 2 seed are going to go on to win the entire thing, which stick around to see my prediction on that. But it's just to say that there is a qualitative difference between the two. Coco, you good? Golden Guardians look clean. Really clean. We had several different looks, but for the most part, it all revolved around Stixxay and Huhi carrying the team through bot lane, and they look good. Now, granted, the 2 losses that we had, notably to Elk and BLG, we got stomped. But in every other game, they looked great. We were able to rebound well. We played well against PSG. Even in their slow, more methodical style, we were able to pick them apart. Licorice is back on his 2018 form and looks incredible. He's keeping up with some of the best top laners in the world. Even in the BLG series, he was playing incredibly well. In all of the games against minor region teams, my dude just straight up outclassed them. Like, honestly, of play-in stage, Licorice is probably my top laner of like the entire thing, because I think G2 got an easier group, as we've come to learn for the most part. But while Broken Blade looked good, Licorice was demolishing people, making plays that no other top laner in play-ins was really doing. And while I'm not expecting that to continue on into the further rounds as he faces much harder competition, it should just be known that we as North American fans should be proud of our teams in these moments and stop doubting ourselves. No matter what happens from here on out, no matter what happens in Worlds, it doesn't, like, when it comes to play-ins and minor region teams, we have to go in with this attitude of, we are the big boss. We are the gatekeepers. And yes, we'll have problems down the road, but for now, don't mess with us. We're gonna kick your ass. And we did it multiple times. River and Gory also played well, notably in the series, and I hope that they continue to do well as they face, obviously, much harder competition at JDG. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of the boys. Like, I don't care whatever happens from here. I'm very proud of them for representing us incredibly well. And that feeds into the downside of what we're about to talk about next. How do I say this in the nicest way? Wait, no, I'm not even going to try and be nice. Screw you, Oduwamne. What do you have against both Europe and North America? Putting Europe on the entire top side of this bracket and North America at the bottom, putting the LCK purely at the top and the LPL at the bottom. I get that Europe doesn't want to play the LPL on an international stage because you guys understand that you're going to get your ass kicked and we're apparently the only ones that can beat them for you. But dude, we don't have to play each other on the same side of the losers bracket if we all do drop it. What the hell? Honestly though, this bracket was not far off from being pretty much perfect. If you swap the Mad Lions T1 and C9 BLG game, this bracket is literally perfect, because then, under the assumption that LPL and LCK win both of their series, you have G2 versus C9 and Golden Guardians versus Mad in the losers bracket round 1 matchups, and then you have Gen G versus BLG and T1 versus JDG, which granted would have been like the, well, no, that would have worked out yeah, that would have been the perfect bracket. Damn you, Otawamne, what the hell? Honestly, though, as a North America fan, can we really be mad? I mean, yes, we're gonna probably end up eliminating one of the, or each other at some point, whether that's here or here. It's probably gonna happen. But the main point of concern is that I don't want to focus on the second round like everybody else is. We're just skipping over the first round like it's a common assumption. So the best way for me to do this, and the best way for me to show how I feel, is to make a bracket myself. I hope you guys can see this well. If not, sorry, it is what it is. I'm at home and there's only so much I can do here. Starting with the top side of this bracket, Gen G versus G2. I do think this is probably the best chance for Europe to upset. I don't think that T1 is going to drop out this early in the tournament. Their choking typically comes a little bit later on. So with that in mind, if anybody was going to upset Gen G, it would probably be G2. The problem is I just think the LCK over the last year and a half has been incredible. So I'm actually going to go 3-2. I do think that G2 is going to give them a little bit of a run for their money. But I do think it is ultimately going to be Gen G that takes it. So Gen G moves on to the next round. Mad Lions versus T1. Like I said, I just don't see T1 choking early on. And quite frankly, I think Mad Lions, as good as they are, maybe it's in their best benefit if I continue to doubt them. Because why not? I don't think they even win a game. I think T1 just absolutely curb stomps them in the first round, and it's not even close. Setting up the LCK rematch at the top. Jumping down below, C9 versus BLG. This is the one where I see a lot of like NA fans and like those that are like really doomer on this bracket right now saying that, you know, C9 shouldn't win, BLG is going to win LPL 2 seed. As Paul kept pointing out, they're mid-jungle. Little hit or miss at times. And if there's anybody that I think could take advantage of that and win in a 3-0 fashion if they're going to do it, it probably would be Cloud9. The question is whether you have enough faith in North America for them to do it or not. I do, personally. I think Cloud9 actually beats BLG, and I have faith. I think they have to win it 3-1 or 3-0. I don't think if it goes to 5 games that Cloud9 will have, quite frankly, what it takes to win that. I just think North America is not used to that level of pressure in that stage, even the players on that team. But if we can end this 3-1, we stand a chance. No, I'm sorry, Golden Guardians. Like, the sad thing is Golden Guardians have the play-in buff and technically could perform incredibly well. I just think JDG is too good. Like, I legitimately think JDG is probably the odds-on favorite to win this tournament right now. And the question is going to be who gets hot a little bit later, especially coming from the losers bracket, given the nature of these tournaments and double elimination as a whole. That means, let me cut to the formatting real quick. We'll start with the loser. We will start with the losers bracket first and then jump up to the winners bracket. I think, unfortunately, BLG Golden Guardians is a tough rematch for Golden Guardians. If it was literally anybody else, I would say maybe they can have some momentum going for them. But it's just unfortunate that BLG is going to be able to take what they did last time against them, know that they can just feed resources into Elk and probably still beat them again. Maybe C9 stands a chance, but the way we saw those series going, it's just not going to happen. I mean, I'll give Golden Guardians another game because they might be able to throw some draft creativity in there, but it's just, I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. The dream ends for Golden Guardians despite a very good run overall. I actually do think in the rematch, what'd I do? Coco. That G2 actually stomps Mad Lions. I truly believe that it was just a case for G2 of them already knowing that they're going to MSI and there being no real reason for them to try their absolute hardest. Or, okay, not to say that they weren't trying, but like when you're playing with a safety net, you're just playing cautious, if we're being honest. And even in double elimination playoffs for them, and the fact that, you know, they could get eliminated, it's like, but we're still going to MSI. I think with a fire lit under their ass after playoffs and the work that they've done in between and what we've seen so far from them, I think it's a completely different roster. And unfortunately, Mad Lions wins one game on the international stage, but you know what, it is what it is. This is where things get interesting. You know what? Not so interesting. JDG is going to stomp Cloud9. It's not even going to be close. It's going to be a 3-0. Cloud9 is going to get sent down to the losers bracket. And I don't think it's even going to be close. The LPL plays close games against Korea, but has historically either been blown out for the most part by North America, like 3-1, 3-0, or just simply don't lose to us, which the majority of the time they don't lose to us. Jumping to the top side of the bracket, I think most people are talking a lot about Gen G and T1 as if T1 is probably going to do better in this tournament. And my question is, why? We just saw Gen G kick their ass before. Why would you not call it again? So I'm just going to call it call it how I see it. It's a 3-0 Gen G. Give me 2 minutes. This is where things get really, really spicy, because T1 versus G2 is a historic matchup where G2 has recently gotten the better of them for the most, well, okay, over the course of like 5 years, give or take, but obviously in totality, and even more recently, T1 has just been the better team. But there's something to be said about T1 coming off of the crushing loss and G2 winning solidly over Mad Lions and gaining a little bit of confidence. I know LCK fans are going to hate me for this, but you know what? It's going to make for a more fun bracket. I'm saying G2 3-2. Jumping down to the losers bracket. Again, if Golden Guardians can take a game off of BLG, Cloud9 can take 3. Cloud9 3-2 over BLG. Which I know goes against what I just said about the LPL typically winning if it goes late. It's just, this one's just gut feeling. And again, I weigh momentum a lot when it comes to these losers brackets, unless there's a clear distinction or skill gap between two teams. And quite frankly, I only see that with the upper bracket teams for now. Upper bracket final, I'll save you some time. JDG is going to win. I think this one is going to be close. I'm going to say 3-2 JDG over Gen G. But I do think JDG smooth sails into the winners bracket as a whole, or winners bracket final as a whole, or championship final as a whole. Jesus, sorry, this is going to take me a little bit to get used to. As for the losers bracket, G2 versus Cloud9, united in rivalry. The first Europe versus North America match, if we were to see it, would likely be here. And I really want it to go North America's way. But I just feel like we're not going to be able to beat a hot G2. I don't know why. I just feel like Yike is probably going to be a little bit better than Blabber. In the top lane, Fudge versus Broken Blade. I do think Broken Blade has the edge, being quite honest. Berserker, I will give a significant edge over Hansama, but I don't think that's going to be the lane that matters. It's ultimately MNS versus Caps. And a hot Caps is not something that I ever want to mess with, and I think is still better than MNS. So with that in mind, I am going to go G2 3-1. Losers bracket final, Gen G versus G2. All momentum has to stop at some point, and I think Gen G getting their ass kicked by JDG is going to kind of reignite them a little bit. It's a 50-50 coin whenever you drop down into the losers bracket. Either you're going to turn it on at that point and truly understand the things that you need to fix, and also just, quite frankly, just say, you know what, screw it. Screw the planning, screw everything else. Let's go out and let's win. Or you just instantly get 3-0, 3-0'd. I don't think Gen G is going to be that team. I think it is going to be a Gen G JDG rematch in the finals. But here's going to be the really important part. A lot of times we weigh heavily if you can make it back into the grand final, coming from the losers bracket and having that experience of coming off of a win. Can Gen G upset the odds and finally do it? No, I don't think it's even close. I think ultimately JDG wins the entire tournament with another 3-2 in finals, praying that it's close, but I don't think it actually is. So yeah, overall, JDG is my clear favorite to win. The LPL has won almost every major tournament for the last few years, barring Worlds last year. Even though the LCK gets more teams further in the tournament, the LPL always has a team that goes on a run. And I don't think BLG is going to be that team since I have them dropping out fairly quick. But I do think that JDG are just going to be them and stomp this entire thing. Maybe they'll get upset in the first round. Who knows? Maybe I'm so far off. But that's the fun of these brackets. I mean, not many people outside of like North American fans are probably going to have G2 or Cloud9 finishing what Cloud9 would be 4th, G2 would be 3rd. That would be a massive upset if it were to happen. And it's a bold prediction, but you know what? I'm going to stick with it. The final segment that I'll touch on, and this video is getting a little long, so I think I might save this for a full video elsewhere, but I do want to talk about it now, is North America removing the requirement for its LCS teams to have an academy team or a challenger team now. And I don't think it's the negative that a lot of people think it is. Yes, we are technically losing some of the notoriety of having these major brands involved, but they weren't really bringing all that much to the academy scene anyways. Half of them were phoning in the rosters and not actually developing talent. So it really wasn't serving its purpose as it was intended. And it was costing a lot of teams money, but you know, whether that's a good thing or not, you know, we can debate, because if they would have been spending it correctly, it would have had fiscal benefit. Otherwise, etc. The two main downsides that I saw from a lot of people is, one, a lot of people are going to be technically losing their jobs in terms of the academy scene, in which I would say we are downsizing as a whole. Unfortunately, the academy and challenger scene is not sustainable as is. There shouldn't be 100 people having a livable wage from that system. That's not saying that they don't deserve to be able to have that, and I got to be very careful with how I'm wording this. But you have minor league baseball players who drive more local economic value for their teams, getting maybe 30 to 40 grand and having to go on the road and do all these other different things. And you're saying that challenger players deserve all that much? Like, no, I don't think we're in a spot where the secondary scene of League of Legends, especially in North America, is sustainable to the point where we can be doing that. Your goal is to hit that pro level, and when pros are barely getting paid over 6 figures, as what the average salary continues to drop due to sponsorships and other issues with the league, the academy scene is going to get hit by that as well. It sucks to see a lot of the talent in North America not ultimately get promoted up there, and I do blame a lot of LCS teams for not taking those chances. But at the same time, the import rookies that have come in over the last few years have proven their worth. So why then would people continue to look at the North American challenger scene? It just doesn't make sense. My ultimate view on this, and you know I'm a very forward, like future-looking thinker, and will always try to take the positive, optimistic side of this, is I think this is going to be a really good benefit to the collegiate scene, because they are the ones that can eat the cost of having these younger players who might go pro, but it's also for a club level and raises notoriety for them and gives students an activity to do. I really do think if in 2 years' time we still have 16 teams in Challenger and over half of them are college programs, that's great, because then you can tie that to scholarships and other things to help them get their career. And then if they want to go pro, they can. If they don't want to go pro, they also have a sustainable career in the background of doing something else. I truly do think that is the way forward. And this is a step towards that. Even though you don't have the LCS teams there, I think there's a very positive end result here. Obviously, it's just going to suck during the transition period, and I don't want to downplay that at all. And I'm sorry to anybody that's going to lose their jobs as a result of this. I'm sorry to those that care truly about like the challenger scene and some of the names and faces that have been built up over the years, but we are seeing a true shift. And luckily, the import rule is not changing according to the LCSPA, which is great. So it'll still be 2 import slots allowed, 3 resident players that must be on the roster, whether that's through grandfather rules, which I'm still not the biggest fan of. I really wish it would just be like either you get citizenship, like not just green card, but like you get US or Canadian citizenship, then you're good to go. But I don't know. There definitely needs to be some level of like you've played here for 5 years, you get rewarded in some capacity for that. But at the same time, other than Bjergsen and Double, if the players that have been here for 5+ years that under that rule have not driven the same amount of brand value, That is really tough. But again, we'll save that for a whole different video. This is going a little bit long. Anyways, I got to wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of LFC. The bracket stage begins tomorrow. We don't play until Thursday and Friday, and I'm really excited for those matches. And then we'd obviously play again, I believe, on Sunday. If we were to lose both of those, I'll put the schedule on screen here. So you can see everything that's upcoming. But I'm looking forward to the games. Which one are you most excited for? Is it the C9 BLG game because we stand the best chance of winning it? Let me know. Adios.